Rocksteady saw a power shift in the music industry. It was still dominated by the former sound system bosses, but Coxsone and Studio One would never be quite the same force again. Many of the artists, like the Paragons, Alton Ellis and the Melodians, promptly signed up with his old rival Duke Reid, who still ran his own sound system and realised the potential of the more easily danceable Rocksteady beat.
This guy was very fast. He had to spin, he had to dance, he had to dance in a fast pace. So what we did was, at the time, most of them had the same bass line because the bass man didn't have enough time to emphasize on his bass line. So what we did was cut it down a little so the bass man could more move his fingers and have a line. So that's how he comes to have these reggae lines.
Reid's Trojan sound system had been notorious for the vicious fights that often accompanied his dances. Experiences which made the ex-policeman the ideal man to set up his Treasure Isle studio amongst the rude boys of downtown Kingston.
You see the studio over there on top? Where's the studio? Now down here was his liquor store. You'd have a lot of boxes on the roads with liquor and drinks and all that, and nobody take anything. Well, you see, Duke, he's respected around the area, and he's well armed. He got at least 3 guns on him. One long one on his hip, and one on his feet. That's Duke, the first gunman in Western Kingston.
If Duke even not in the studio, him have a box downstairs in him liquor store. And when everybody upstairs dancing, so boy, this gone. And out of nowhere, boom, boom, boom. And that Duke fire shot and the whole studio get quiet.
Do you see the big man? He would run up the stairs. Say to Tom McCook and all those people, what are you playing? I don't want that. I want this, I want that. You know, everybody just shut up and listen to what he said.
Then you had a on man, he's dead now, named Marquis. So listen, and Duke, say play it back, Smithy, and quiet, and Marquis put out him head like this and say, yes, the boss was right. The tune need a 17 there, sir.
Rocksteady lasted 18 glorious months, but finally there was no escaping Jamaica's worsening conditions. Bass lines became heavier, and the subject matter more socially concerned.
Give me money.
And we go into reggae now. And how we get to reggae now? Reggae is a different changing of the drum. We have the drum playing more burro-like. Oh, I don't know if you understand, like tap ta da pa da pa pa da pa da pa pa da, and change the bass pattern.
If the music even slow, it make it sound like it fast. So that is what the reggae do to the Rocksteady. And that was it. Reggae, 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 reggae.
Reggae was everywhere, and producers soon had an eye on the growing market in Britain, where the Caribbean community was becoming more affluent and more integrated.
White kids that were hanging out with the black kids from the same areas grew up on the music, you know, we were all hearing it. And
it was just the fashion, the youth culture of the day.
Yeah, well, that was it. We only had the youth clubs. You know what I mean? Nobody was old enough to go to nightclubs anyway.
That's it.
In Britain, reggae was a big underground success, but it met with dogged resistance from the mainstream, particularly BBC Radio.
Oh yes, I am. Long walk to the BBC, but I know I'll make it someday.
I think there was a perception amongst the reggae labels that the BBC dismissed reggae to a certain extent. To be fair, I think possibly, yes, I think they might have a slight case there.
Bob Marley and the Wailers failed their BBC audition because in the view of the panel, they didn't know how to play reggae. which was, but then you get some kind of, you know, the BBC Dance Orchestra doing a strict tempo version of reggae. People would say, oh, that's how reggae should be.
But eventually, even the BBC couldn't ignore reggae, and it made its way into the charts and became part of the UK's pop mainstream. And by 1969, Desmond Dekker was filling Wembley just like visiting royalty.
That reggae pop music, I suppose, you know, we were beneficiaries of it as well, you know. The doors had been opened and people have been softened up enough to start listening, you know.
Once they'd broken into the British market, Jamaican producers started churning out jaunty pop reggae tailored for the UK. International reggae was perfect for Britain, but ignored in Jamaica. And with a whole music business geared towards foreign sales, any new voices were finding it almost impossible to get.
The music industry was like in a lull. There wasn't anything great happening for reggae. The radio was playing like a lot of calypso, Byron Lee. Most of the announcers, they really didn't align themselves with the poorer classes.
We couldn't afford to buy records, so we listened to the radio. And anything the radio play is that we hear. So I wasn't really into them things. I was really into, like, I call it spiritual music, you know, till it get more revolutionized.
Had a message to be delivered, to be heard, and that was one of his main things, to be heard. You know, when am I going to be heard? When the radio station is going to play my music?
Singers like Bob Marley had to wait a little longer for their moment because downtown a different musical revolution was taking place. It started when a new generation of producers had a simple idea to put the instrumental backing track of the hit on the B-side. They called it version.
Version basically is a great idea. Version was just putting the track of the song on the other side of the record. If you like a song and you buy it, it's great really just to hear the track. I mean, you know, in a way it's almost like the first karaoke opportunities. And then after that, then people would start to talk over the tracks.
Wait in town and tell the people about the musical disc coming your way.
The first stars of this new music were the DJs, the flamboyant frontmen of the sound systems who started to rap over the versions. The emerging new producers like King Tubby and Lee Perry started to record them. Success was instant.
The first two songs, which is Wait the Town and Tell the People, and the station Rule the Nation with version. The two songs was playing on the radio, but believe me, I never even believed them weren't going away at all, because to me, it's just two more tunes we're going to just play and after a while, dump, you know? But then the two tunes become number one and number two.
God let the world know how much I need to know. Still I want the world to know. Gee, we are never let you go, you know. Go to be good, be good.
Believe me, it's like, it was such a big surprise for me because I used to have this little bike that I've been riding down the street and you would start block the road now and check me out and tell me how great I am and how much they love what I'm doing, you know what I mean? So it's like, that was really something exciting for me.
DJs talked about everyday experience and turned it into a kind of poetry, and they spoke in patois. The music was at one with its audience again.
You are big, you baby.
The principles that are used in hip-hop and rap today are the same principles that were used in the originals in the 60s when the likes of a Count Machuki and a Daddy Roy talked over the dubs. They'd say simple stuff started off, great job. This station, you know? And that principle was passed down to the child. The mother reggae passed it on to the child called hip-hop, bottom line.
It wasn't just the DJs who were having fun with versions. Soon the producers got in on the act. Versions had become dub.
People would mess around with the tracks and dub the tracks and have the repeat echoes and all these different sounds and pull things in and drop things out. All that started in Jamaica, and all that is what is, you know, kind of a basis for pretty much most of the dance records that exist today.
Out with the bass. Give me some piano. Drum and bass rolling, drum and bass. Strictly drum and bass. Piano with some echo.
Dub to me is an artistic expression of internal molecular energy.
Out to the bass. Piano alone with some echo. Then we give you bass alone. Rolling bass. Come in drums.
I mean, you play the right dub and people all take their clothes off and go on crazy and they don't drink a glass of wine yet.
Singers like Bob Marley had yet to see any benefit from the changes afoot in Jamaica, but that new wind would soon blow in his direction. The key to unlocking the door was an old friend of Marley's who'd built a reputation through dub and was now in a position to help him, Lee Scratch Perry. Perry had some success in Britain with his band The Upsetters and teamed up with Marley in 1969.
We the Wailers started our independent career and left Coxsone because Jamaica knew about the Wailers, but the world didn't. And we decided to venture with Lee Perry, who had an acquaintance also with the UK.